Welcome, viewers, to the Virtual Electronic Music Summit. We're coming at you live today from Treaty 7 Land in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And the panel that you're currently tuned into is called Navigating a New Direction, the Future of Underground Music. I had a lot of help putting this panel together from Justin Mello, who helped me curate this. Many of you may know him as J.Sauté from 403 D&B. The idea behind this panel is that we wanted to get together a discussion of some of our most favorite labels across bass music and get everyone together virtually to discuss, how this pandemic is affecting the day-to-day operations of their labels and what the future of underground music might be. So, I'm thrilled today to be joined by Hospital Records, Aufect, Scotch, Bonnet, and High Focus Records, which are some of my most favorite labels across underground music. For those of you that are unfamiliar with me, my name's Kayla Graham, and I've been involved in music media for about the last 10 years or so, most notably, I think, as the music editor of Freq magazine. So today I'm absolutely thrilled to be sitting here with Chris Goss, Craig MacLeod, Xander Whitehead, Severine Erickson, and Patrick Cure. I'm not even going to bother trying to introduce these guys and what they do because, quite frankly, I will definitely miss something and butcher it. So, without further ado, I'm going to have each of them introduce themselves to you guys, where they are, what they do, and yeah, so without further ado, let's do that.
So I'm Chris, I'm co-founder, co-owner of Hospital. We're in business for almost 25 years. We are a record label, publisher and event promoter. We're 100% independent. We're in Southeast London, just south of Brixton. Staff of 25 people, artist roster of 25. And we like to think we're the prettiest thing in drum and bass.
Okay, Xander, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Xander. I'm also an artist. I go under the name Fliptrix, and I'm in a group called the 4 Owls. My record label is High Focus Records. We've got roughly around 25 artists and have been running for 10 years. I also put on events as well as distributing music and promoting the artists through the record label.
Okay, great. Craig?
Hi, I'm Craig from Mungo's Hi-Fi up in Glasgow in Scotland, sound system production unit, and I also run our label Scotch Bonnet Records, which has been going for 15 years now.
Okay, great. And Severine?
Hey, I'm Severine. I am the label manager for Aufect and the co-founder and president of a talent agency called AAA. Aufect, we just had our 10-year anniversary. And our main focus is on developing mostly Canadian talent, but also working with international acts.
Last but not least, Patrick.
What's up? I'm Patrick, half of the duo GREAZUS. I am the founder of Aufect, current co-owner now as well. Responsible for basically the brand and A&R. And as Severine mentioned, we just started a talent agency at the absolute worst time. Co-founder of that, and yeah.
Okay, great. So I don't really want to spend too much time talking about this because I know that everybody is bored as fuck about talking about the pandemic, but I do think that it's important to kind of set the stage of where all you guys are in the world and where the pandemic is at, because as we know, it's in different stages and different places. So Chris, if you want to just let us know where you're at in London with it.
I'm in Southeast London, and as a lot of people might know, currently in the UK, we just have a very vague understanding of what the hell we meant. We've been, as a company, we've been working from home, I think, for about 9 weeks now. I think we've been on sort of lockdown for maybe 8. I'm very sad to say that obviously, as a lot of people know, the death rate and the death toll here in the UK is one of the worst. We obviously all feel pretty devastated about that. Currently in London, I don't really feel like the measures are that strict, but I think people are doing their best. We have food shops and a few cafes open, but at the same time, you know, I feel very lucky. You know, my life is fine, and I'm not struggling. But I would obviously wish for the same as the rest of us, for a much healthier, more stable kind of community in the near future.
Right. Okay, Xander.
Yeah, I live in Brighton. The label originated in London, so yeah, I'm in a very similar position to Chris in terms of, you know, what we're allowed to do and stuff. I personally, you know, been going out there in the sun and doing the exercise and trying to stay happy and positive. I also had a baby 2 months ago, right when the pandemic kicked off. So that was pretty interesting. Literally, as we went into lockdown, yeah, my wife was giving birth, so
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty intense. But yeah, I plan to spend a lot of time working from home, regardless. So in terms of my daily kind of activities, apart from obviously losing a lot of shows, it's been quite similar in terms of what I've been doing, and I'm really trying to maintain the same amount of content and output, you know, and try and get through it and stay positive. So that's where we're at.
Right. Okay. So, Craig, I think you can probably relate to the baby a little bit.
I can indeed, yeah. I got an 9-month here now, and yeah, it's quite full on being in lockdown with a wee one,
Yeah.
as I'm sure you know, everyone knows. But now, yeah, Scotland's the same. Maybe a few weeks behind England, so we're in a bit more of a strict lockdown still. We can go out for, I think it's from today, 2 walks a day or 2 pieces of exercise a day. But yeah, happy to be at home and doing our bit for the greater good, and you know, trying to help people stay healthy and positive.
Sev?
Yeah, it's been interesting here. Our rates of COVID have dropped quite a bit recently. So our municipal and regional governments have been, you know, coming up with a timeline for people to gradually reintroduce their businesses and you know, hopefully start to reestablish some of the normalcy. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because people have been paying attention to seeing what's happening in South Korea. They've recently opened up a lot of their bars and clubs, and they're going through their second wave right now because of that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But it's been pretty lax, and just in terms of seeing how people are handling it. At first, it was like a ghost town. Every single day, you'd walk out onto the street and it felt post-apocalyptic. There was nobody there. And now it feels like normal again. Everyone's back out doing their thing. So I hope it doesn't have a negative impact on how things turn out.
Well, and from what I heard, you guys have opened beaches and things like that in Vancouver.
They were never closed.
Oh, really?
They just have the, you know, the 2 meter guideline post everywhere. So
They were
things have
around with hula hoops on to show the spacing.
So Patrick, you're pretty much the same as Sev then. You're also in Vancouver, kind of same, or?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people were taking it like very, very seriously for up until maybe like a week or 2 ago, and things have pretty much gone back to normal. Well, I mean, you can't go and eat at a restaurant yet or anything like that. But as far as people being out on the street, it seems like summer here, or summer's beginning.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
Yeah, in Brighton as well. I mean, I just walked through the park on the way back, and there's a load of people out, even quite a lot of groups, you know, groups of 10 people just sitting together as friends and stuff. Like, so, I mean, yeah, it's definitely, I think people are wanting to get back out there, and the sun is making people go outside and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, you guys have kind of touched on this a little bit, but how has it impacted the day-to-day of your labels? Chris, if you want to start with that.
Well, like I say, we started working from home 9 weeks ago. For what it's worth, personally, like, I hate working from home. I like people. I love the team that we've got. You know, I guess it's a relatively big team for an independent label, and I've always been blessed that I really enjoy going to work. So, you know, to just sit and stare into a laptop at the same table for 9 weeks is a little bit soul destroying. But, you know, we quickly adjusted. We're also very fortunate that the guy that runs our web shop like lives in Brixton, and so he can literally like walk or cycle around to the building, which has meant that our web store, which we have like a warehouse in the building that we own in Herne Hill. So he's been able to go in there and make sure that 5 days a week throughout this, these circumstances, our web shop has stayed open, and that's been a bit of a lifeline for us because, you know, we've always done good business through that. We sell like a lot of music through there. We sell a lot of, you know, t-shirts and stuff. So we've been actually very fortunate. I think, you know, like most of us, the impact of what happened on many levels was just surreal and very, very unnerving. I mean, probably a lot of us are parents, let alone, you know, business owners and stuff like that. But I think I found the first 5 days a bit disturbing, to be honest. We sort of got settled, and we started to realise that, you know, like we said earlier, we're very fortunate that we have relatively high-speed internet, apart from mine, obviously. Most of us have decent internet. We have good computers. We're working on different sort of platforms that enable us to do all of this stuff quite quickly. So we've adapted. I'm really proud of all the staff team for just, you know, just getting their heads down and working as hard as they always do. So whilst it's a very new reality, we seem to be doing all right.
Good, yeah. Xander?
Yeah, mine situation is again quite similar to Chris. We have a web store and distribute a lot of physical products through there, a lot of merchandise and stuff. So our main distribution guy, Neil, has been going in every day and managing to keep all the physical orders going the whole time. We also dropped an album from my group, The 4 Hours, which was a really big one for us. We actually have been gearing up to it for about 5 years, and it's like going to be one of the biggest releases for our label. And yeah, it dropped on April the 17th, right when, you know, everything was kicking off. Luckily, our fans really supported that, and the shop sales have been really good. Our team is a lot smaller than Hospital. We only really have about 4 sort of key staff members, but then we work with a lot of different freelancers. So there are people that are working with us regularly. So yeah, I mean, the core team has kind of enjoyed working from home a bit, apart from Neil, who's been coming in. But yeah, myself, like Chris, I do like going into the office and getting the hub and chatting to everyone, bouncing ideas back and playing songs and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a shame to not sort of have that kind of vibe going. But yeah, the physical sales have maintained well, which is good thanks to the fans. One thing that I did find interesting though is when the pandemic came, I thought, oh wow, I would expect streaming to spike. You know, I was guessing streaming would spike by about 20%, for example. But when I've been looking at our streaming, it seems to have kind of gone down by around 20%. And I was speaking to our distributor, and he was saying, you know, a lot of people listen to music on the commute to and from work. You know, a lot of people listen to stream music all day in their offices. All of the restaurants, all of the bars, the pubs are all streaming as well. So when they're all closed, although people are at home, apparently quite a few people are listening to the radio for friendly voices and stuff like that. So where I thought streaming might rise, it seems for us to anyway have dipped for a little bit, but it's still been manageable, and we're still staying afloat fine because people are still buying physical products. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, that's great. I definitely wasn't expecting you guys to say that, so it's awesome that you guys have something positive at least to say. So Craig, how about you and the day-to-day at Scotch Bonnet?
Yeah, I mean, we're a wee bit different. We're for us, we're not such a big label, such an expanse. Like Mungo's as an act, pretty much is the kind of the mainstay for us. So there's all the kind of gigging, and that really kind of does. This is the majority of how we make our income, with the label and streaming being slightly secondary. But we went through kind of a bit of a change just before this happened, where two of our employees both decided to move off to Europe pretty much at the same time. So we were kind of in a bit of we downsized our shop just before this all happened, and we've just been focusing on our Bandcamp more. So that's kind of what's kind of seen us through for just now, really. On the physical side, we had projects coming in and they were getting delivered from France, the records, and they're still there. We're just rearranging to get them be delivered now, and we're just kind of just shuffling things about, trying to make the best of it. But yeah, Sander was saying as well, we had the same thing, and I think it's kind of right across the board with streaming, and exactly like what he's saying about commutes and pubs and bars and that. But it seems to be picking up a little bit more now. Yeah, we're just starting to gear up to start thinking about starting to get back onto releases in the next few months.
Right. So Severine, what about things at Aufect?
So I guess we're, pardon me, a little bit unique in this realm. We're, probably a lot smaller label compared to our fellow panelists here, but it definitely caught us with our pants down. We have actually, we just are re-entering the vinyl game again, and we have our first re-entry out there right now. We just got the test presses, but basically everything has been pushed back by, I'd say, 1 to 2 months now. The manufacturing, the shipping, all the physical component of that. And of course, it's a bit different for us because we're in Western Canada. Even just to get the product here, we're generally dealing with European distributors and manufacturers. So just the logistics of getting the physical product over here is a challenge as well. And then, because of that, it just kind of created a bit of a domino effect. Now we're a bit more, I guess you could say, freewheeling as a label. I think it's been a big advantage for us early on because it gave us the ability to react to things very well. But now, given this limitation, especially with the physical product, it's kind of thrown us for a loop. So we're just rescheduling all the bits of our upcoming release schedule, moving chunks around, trying to anticipate what the delays are going to be. But it's been a little bit challenging, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah. So Patrick, maybe you can let us in on some of the things that have happened on the day-to-day of AAA, the agency you mentioned starting at the start of the call here.
It was basically an immediate shutdown. Like within a week, everyone had lost their gigs. I'm sure everyone's gone through the same thing. And we've really only met a few times since this happened. There's really no business to do aside from respond to emails. And, at first people were worried about refunds and all that kind of stuff, but it's basically on pause until this whole thing is over. Right.
Well, and I mean, I think that actually segues nicely into canceled events and what that might kind of mean to you guys. And I kind of wanted to start with Chris on that one because I don't know, I'm assuming most of the people viewing this will be familiar with hospitality events, and they are pretty massive. I mean, I've been to one myself, and it's a huge event. So for you, Chris, you guys have canceled 3 hospitality events now, or is it just the 2?
I mean, we, same as everyone, like the guys were saying, I think, and we also have an agency as well. So we started our agency 3.5-4 years ago, but most of us know that suddenly everything just cleared, and suddenly we all just saw everything fall away. We, like a number of other promoters, I think a lot of us were sitting tight for a couple of weeks thinking, what do we do? When we went into lockdown here, we were about 3.5 weeks out from a tobacco dock show, which is like it's like a kind of 6,000 capacity show in East London, which we basically sold out. And of course, it became very clear very quickly that this was not going to happen. And I think, like all of us, to an extent, we're learning a lot of new skills because I'm learning levels of patience that I didn't realise that I had. But also, I think what's been fundamental is learning how to ensure that we as a team deliver very, very clear messaging to a fan base. Because there's no sense in rushing to kind of say something on social media until you're categorically sure you know exactly what you're saying to people. So we had to, I think we sat tight for like about a week. And you know, we were, with any show, with any big show, we have either stakeholders, partners, suppliers. There's a lot of people that you have to reach out to. And these are other people who are being paid, losing work, you know, people that are delivering lighting, sound systems, bars, staff, you name it. There's a lot of conversations to be had. So we had to postpone our Tobacco Dock show, which is now allegedly happening at Halloween. And I'm obviously crossing my fingers that that will come through, because we've got 6,000 ticket holders that are patiently waiting with their tickets, which have been moved to that date. But simultaneously, we had to clear, because we just have shows, like a lot of guys, you know, we have shows throughout the year. I think we cleared 8 weeks worth of shows. So in the first week, we cancelled 20 shows, one of which was then Tobacco Dock being postponed. And then our next kind of focus was we have a Croatia festival in July, which was also sold out. And, you know, you're just sort of, like everyone, you know, you're sort of facing the inevitable, and trying to find a sensible, mindful, careful path through all of this madness, and trying to ensure that you make categorically the right decisions for, you know, your fans and your artists and your staff. And so it's been a, I've never, you know, I've worked in the music business for a long time. I've never come across anything like this, but I know that so many of all of us here and so many other people that I know globally, we're all in the same situation. And I've made sure that I've made a lot of phone calls to friends, on the one hand, just to make sure that people are all right, but also just to get a bit of advice and a little bit of support, and just sort of saying, you know, are you okay? And like, how are you handling a press statement? How are you handling a list of suppliers? How are you handling your refunds? How are you handling all these things? So we've had to, you know, we've had to postpone a huge show. We've had to then push our summer festival by a year. And very, very frustratingly, we were about to announce a big 2-day London festival in September, which we just didn't announce at all. And, you know, it's been really, really hard. It's hard, of course, financially. You know, like most of us here, a lot of people in this industry have lost some significant money. Most of us, I think, are trying to find ways to offset that, to postpone that, to try and, you know, retain the work that we've put into schedules and events. But we are just like everyone else here, I imagine. We're doing our very best to try and hold on to some level of a schedule whilst being realistic and practical, and sensible about what is happening around us.
So before we move on to the others, I want to go back to something that you said, which is that you moved the dock show. So does that mean that you moved all the artists and everything straight over laterally to a new date, or is it rebooking different artists?
I mean, inevitably, you know, the irony, you know, you find yourself kind of, you had all these ticket holders. Also, what's challenging is that Tobacco Dock is a beautiful venue in East London that operates on a bunch of 10s, which means they only have about a maximum 12 shows in a year. So it's not like a regular venue. You can't just choose a date. But you're also a promoter with a bunch of ticket holders. And I'm like, I don't want some Tuesday afternoon in September. I want a good date. And then you say, okay, I could get Saturday Halloween. That's amazing. And then you say, okay, so I take Halloween. And then 30 or 40% of my artists are already booked on Halloween because I was meant to do it in Easter. So the answer is, if I'm honest, you just do your best.
Right.
And most of us here would say, you know, you just try and make good decisions. You know, first of all, I want to hold all of our fans and the ticket holders to come to the show. And I also figure Halloween is sort of, I'm no scientist, but I figure Halloween's far enough down the road that maybe we will be allowed to go out and go raving. I don't want to do early September because that to me seems too soon.
Yeah.
I accept that I'm not going to have the same lineup, but maybe I'll get most of it. That's about the best I could do.
Right. So Xander, what about you? What kind of events have you had to cancel this year?
Well, on the label side, we were gearing up for our big 10-year anniversary, and the live shows is a big aspect for us as well. We had Bristol SWX, which is a 1,700 capacity venue, booked, and it was gearing up to be one of our biggest and best shows. And then obviously when everything started kicking off, I knew that it wasn't going to go ahead, but you know, like Chris was saying, we wanted to sit tight and just see what happened. And then when the government sort of put the guidelines in, that's when we put up our post saying, you know, because for the safety of the artists and the fans and stuff, you know, we've had to postpone this. So yeah, that was quite a wounder. At the same time, we rescheduled the whole thing to mid-August, which now I'm well aware of probably won't happen in terms of a 1,700 cap show. So we have another date penciled for 2021, in which we'll move that to as well. We had a London show booked as well, which would have been a similar size, but we hadn't announced that yet. Luckily, all of our artists didn't really have any plans for that far, so I did manage just to say, everyone, can you do the next date? And they said yes, so that got moved over. We've also cancelled a Brighton show at Concord 2. So yeah, I've cancelled 3 in-house shows, but where it's more affected me personally is as an artist. Like I say, with my group, The 4 Hours, we put out our new album, Nocturnal Instinct. We worked with some, you know, we had DJ Premier on there, Master Killer from Wu-Tang, Rock Marciano, R.A. the Rugged Man, quite a lot of big American acts. We just got signed to United Talent Agency, UTA, which is one of the sort of largest labels in the world, and they were gearing up to sort us out pretty much the biggest tour of our lifetime. So I've probably lost close to 50 shows personally, I reckon, this year, which financially is a massive wounder. But on the other side, I've just had my first child, and I'm super happy to be able to just spend that time with him and not be away every weekend and not be away for 5 days at a time. Although it would have been nice to bring that money back to my family, I'm going to get to spend priceless time with my son. And I have quite a few different revenue streams with the label, the merchandise. You know, like Chris, I've got a big back catalogue. So luckily that's going to keep us going. So, you know, the shows will happen. I've been performing for over a decade, so I don't mind a bit of time off, although I was looking forward to, you know, a lot of fun, exciting experiences. I love traveling the world, meeting people, doing the shows. At the same time, I'm trying to look on the positive side, you know, that I get to spend more time with my son, and we have the back catalogue to keep us afloat through this, really.
Right. So Craig, I mean, for you, there's the artist shows, but you also have the sound system. And whether or not people know, you provide sound for a lot of festivals in Scotland and Europe. And that's how I really first came across you. So what does that mean for you, canceling shows?
Well, yeah, we saw, what did we lose first of all? We lost an American tour straight away, which we just managed to get our visa for the first time. There's like three of us who all play out as Mungos. So in a way, like what we do is three of us can be playing under the name Mungos in 3 different continents in a night. So we kind of really do rely on the kind of the gigging side of things. And yeah, we just basically just watch tour after tour from Australia, go shows in Canada, all through UK, Europe, all just kind of drop off one after the other. And yeah, feeling pretty braced to not really pick that up again until, I don't know, next kind of festival season maybe, if we're lucky. Just kind of watching and just getting ready to adapt to see how it all kind of goes. And yeah, with the sound system as well, we kind of we have like people who are subcontractors who kind of come with us on the road, drive vans, set up speakers, run the rig over the night. So yeah, I kind of feel bad that people who would rely on income from that are missing out as well. Kind of feel a bit responsible for that. And yeah, just getting used to working at home and not gigging. I've never been sat on my bum for so long in one period for the last 10, 15 years. But again, yeah, as Andrew was on the positives, just having had a baby, it is lovely being able to work from home and like nip through every hour or so for a go say hello and get a wee player, go out for walks and that. So that's the positives definitely as well for me.
right?
Personal one.
Sev, care to weigh in on all your lost shows this summer?
Yeah, GREAZUS lost out on a pretty nice handful of shows. I'd say our best time of year, I think probably like most of us, is summertime. Here in West Coast, we have a lot of amazing music festivals. So it's kind of like our bread and butter. We really look forward to that every year. And of course, all of those festivals have been canceled or postponed. But of course, on the agency side, the impact is far greater. As artists, it's easy for us to adapt. Patrick and I both have careers outside of music as well. So the impact to us personally hasn't been as drastic as a lot of other artists because of our ability to, get money from other streams. But on the agency side, it's definitely been pretty drastic. Most of our artists are, they're in the same boat. We had loads and loads of festival bookings for everyone, and everything is just on pause right now. Yeah, it's been pretty bad.
Yeah, Patrick, anything else to add?
Yeah, well, we were actually just supposed to be on our first Asia tour, which we would have been stuck in India, like for sure. If we would have left, we probably made the decision not to go maybe like one day before our flight was supposed to leave. And I think they announced the lockdown like just a couple days later. So we would have literally been stuck somewhere, probably India. And it wouldn't have been a good time.
Yeah. Like
on that topic, one of our artists is stuck in Mexico at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have any artists stuck anywhere, or?
Well, no, happily, they're all safely at home. I guess, I think some of that is just the luck of the draw, isn't it? I mean, we have artists that actually are, that live in like Brazil, Russia, Central Europe, New Zealand. But same as everyone else here, there's at any point there's people on tour. There's people, we had Serum and Ninja were down in Australia. In fact, as it started and as lockdown kicked in, they just had to cut their tour really short, and then they were lucky to get back. So yes, I'm happy to say that everyone is at home. They're where they need to be. But I think for all of us here, the impact on our diaries, our events, all of that live revenue has been devastating.
Right. Well, I think one of the cool things, at least I think it's cool, that's come out of this is the live streams. And for example, Chris, you guys turned the Docs event into a massive live stream, which I thought that was really cool. So how are we feeling about live streams, Chris?
Yeah, it's a good question. How am I feeling about them? I'm feeling mixed about them, if I'm honest. I mean, I think all of us naturally feel a need to stay connected with the fan base. We also, those of us that, we all represent artists, I guess. So, we also have a responsibility to ensure that we need to do whatever we can to keep ticking over our artists' activity and profile and, and connection. We naturally, we did like a 12-hour stream at Easter when we should have been at Tobacco Dot, which was good fun and it went really well, and we had some really good figures. We were we were trending on the front page of YouTube, whatever the hell that means, but that was really positive. And, and I know that, obviously crucially for a bunch of the artists that were involved, that felt good. We've set up like a weekly 3-hour Saturday, I guess, just to offer something on a regular basis. And then in the meantime, we've tried to mobilize a big sort of monthly sort of online event, because we have so many shows. Like we did a Kings of the Rollers one a couple of weeks ago because we should have been at Printworks, and actually some of it is just to deliver something to make us feel better, because all of us here, continually feel fairly gutted about, the guys, everyone's mentioning great events that we should have been doing, so you kind of want to do something around that time. but also give it like 4 weeks. And of course, probably everyone with a laptop and a USB stick is streaming a set at some point now. And I think most of us are maybe feeling a little jet lagged with the constant amount of streamed content. I mean, I woke up a couple of mornings ago to see that Cascade in America was, playing his USB sticks from the Grand Canyon. Now, I hope he had a lovely time, but this is kind of like, all right, mate, the rest of us are stuck in bedrooms and you're at the Grand Canyon, congratulations, but you've still got two, USB keyrings like the rest of us. Quickly, I think a lot of us are needing to continually have conversations about how do we collectively carve out some kind of meaningful online event future as musicians and as performers, as labels, as sound systems. We are all, I imagine, trying to figure out how we can deliver content that is meaningful to us and meaningful to our fans. And let's face it, the dirty word is ultimately, how do we monetize that?
Right.
Everyone here is losing a lot of money on their live work, and we are, I imagine, most of us are facing similar challenges in that we want to maintain the, golden connection that we have with our fan base, and yet we have to try and find ways. And this, for me, a lot of this is about messaging and about how we explain in a very honest but very clear fashion to our fans the impact of what's been happening. And we want to perform, and we know that a lot of us may not be able to perform in the way that we used to for maybe quite a long time. And that's a huge drop in revenue for everyone involved. So that's one conversation that, we are having on a regular basis right now, which at the moment, if I'm honest, and please don't ask me the question what the answer is, because I really don't know. Mm-hmm. But I know that at the moment, I think the answer right now is to have constructive conversations with everyone here is a good example of people that we should have constructive conversations with, just to sort of say, what do you think? What would be your strategy? How do you think how could we deliver something meaningful in the next 3 to 6 to 12 months that can maybe go a little way towards plugging some of that gap? I mean, all the guy like Xander was mentioning, you lose out on that amount of work. That's pretty heavy,
Yeah.
Yeah. So Xander, how are you feeling about the live streams?
Yeah, I mean, live streaming is something that I hadn't really been involved with too much before this. But there's a magazine called Wordplay Magazine, and they did something called the Lockdown Sessions, and they reached out to lots of artists and gave them the login details for their Instagram. And, various artists from the scene took it over to do a performance, and they were giving £3 of their online magazine to the NHS. And stuff like that. So I took part in that and did my first ever sort of live performance to a computer screen, which was interesting. It was fun. I enjoyed it. You've got to keep your skills sharp. So yeah, it kept me on my toes, which was good. But I'm all about energy, and I love it. The energy you can exchange with the fans. So yeah, I'm missing the live performance side. And, like Chris was saying, for artists, it's kind of like 50% of their revenue. It really can change. You've got the physical side, and then you've kind of got the live performance side. And a lot of guys need both to be able to maintain, as a valid career, So yeah, like Chris was saying, how could we do this and make it a bit more exciting, so that you could say, I mean, maybe it needs to be by donation or something, like minimum £1 login, but donate however much you want. Hopefully, the fans would support, but it's also on the artists, to try and bring something a bit more interesting as well. I mean, if it's down to like backdrops or lighting or some way that we could try and make it a bit more special, than just say DJing or rapping to the camera, really.
Right. So Craig, I know that you've actually taken part in a couple live streams as well. How do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, that was my first time there. I did what was it Couch Fest, an American festival, and then Black Box, a club night in Denver. That was all kind of directly through. Supposed to be on tour. We were supposed to be on tour right at that time in the States, and I enjoyed it for the first ever time to do it. It was quite interesting. It's quite a new thing, just playing at home without that kind of interaction with crowds and people. And riders, but apart from that, it was good. It was quite fun to watch, like the chat rooms and stuff, kind of what people were saying, and it was kind of a very different way to get kind of feedback on your set and what people thought of tunes. But going forward, probably going to do a few more things like that. As the guys are saying about trying to keep it interesting and unique, and do like probably say it now because this is going to come out after, I think, like a sound clash on national French radio in a few weeks and the weekend, just as a way of kind of keeping it competitive, keeping it a bit fun, lighthearted. But again, there's just like that sea of live streams. Everyone and their dog seems to be live streaming at the moment, which is just great and like absolutely fair play. How long that can last to be interesting, and there's so much going on all the time. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's good to kind of keep interacting with fans and giving content for them and helping people through that as well.
I feel like a sound clash would be a brilliant thing.
Yeah. Quite excited for it. It's just to see how it goes. It's kind of, I think it's going to go out on radio, and then it's going to be somehow there's going to be a stream for that. So I don't quite know how it's working, but yeah, interested in these kind of ideas.
I was going to say, how
formats.
A virtual sound clash, like what's the logistics of that look like?
We're just working on it. I thought the radio would be quite helpful with that, but they're just going like, hey, how you guys going to do this? And I was like, all right, shit. So it's left to us to actually work out and not just play it and that. So I think there can be some way where we have like a private room and like an OBS kind of software. We're in a much lower quality audio whilst recording a higher quality that gets somehow just put on maybe an hour or so after, like ahead of real time, something along these lines.
Okay.
Yeah, on that topic, actually, that is something that I think has been a positive. I mean, I saw DJ Premier and RZA from Wu-Tang. They had a battle, and it was really enjoyable to see, two heroes from hip hop. I think, some of the founding fathers and some of the most inspirational people in the game, seeing them being so excited, going tune for tune. What was a cool thing to see, and that wouldn't have happened without this. So that was cool to see.
Yeah, I think like that. Like there was the Jill Scott Erica thing on Instagram Live, and from my world, like I tuned into it. It was like 60 minutes, and it was literally like DJ Zinc and DJ Markey on a split screen, and it was like there was a whole bunch of people viewing it, and all they were doing was like going, bruv, do you remember this one? And they just put like jungle tune, and they'd be like, rah, and then they'd just be chatting nonsense and sort of giving anecdotes about, and I loved it. I just sat there and watched it. I was just giggling and like occasionally sort of sending a comment, but it was like sort of being invited into someone's lounge where, let's be honest, this is something that we've all grown up on, that we sort of take for granted. Like, what's the best thing you do when you get home from the pub or after a party is you do that. You sit in a room, right, around a deck, and you just play people tunes. Like, no, but have you heard that? And it was sort of happening on Instagram Live. And that, like Xander said, there have been some little magical things that have been happening.
So Seb, would you agree that, there's a lot of live streams and it's a challenge to keep it interesting?
Yeah, I found myself personally, there's just too much saturation right now, which is great. We're spoiled with choice, but at the same time, it's really hard for people's product to stand out unless you have, like, pardon me, what Chris was saying, something special, some kind of unique thing that makes it different from all the others. But I'll definitely defer to Patrick on this. He did a lot of live streaming over the last little bit, and I feel like his kind of stood out a bit more than a lot of others.
Yeah, like I hopped on it right away. My thing was I was kind of getting sick of seeing all these really bad audio quality streams. people just, you know, streaming off Instagram without a direct audio connection into their whatever they're streaming from. So I went out, I like made a makeshift green screen, got a couple cameras, dived into OBS, learned that really well, and made my stream actually look good, you know. And that's pretty much what started getting me more bookings for live streams. Was people were like, okay, well, I like what you've got set up. Yours actually looks different and stands out. So I was able to leverage that and you know, play a whole bunch of live stream shows. I went to a club to even play one, a big empty club to play a show one night too, which was a really cool experience.
I guess that's really interesting, because you just said that got me a load more bookings for live streams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's already like a new landscape.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And even potentially in the future, maybe that's a new revenue stream if we can, like you say, find a way to monetize things like that. And like, I mean, like Xander was saying, if there's a way, you know, £1 donation for entry to the live stream, perhaps it's another revenue stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I wanted to ask all of you who have participated in live streams. Some of them have a donate function, and is that actually even a tangible way to make up some of the money, or does it not work? I'm just curious if any of you have any experience with that.
Definitely works. One of the streams I did, they told me how much they made total through donations, and I was like, wow, like it was thousands of dollars.
But did you get that?
Yeah. So everyone that did the night got a cut of it. I think I got like $300 or $400, like whatever. But it's from doing it from your you know, home studio. I'll take it, sure.
Wow, I mean that right there is phenomenal. I mean, like for what it's worth, from my point of view here, I mean, I guess I don't know if this is a UK thing, but like, you know, when we did our first sort of 12-hour stream, we weren't asking for money, but one thing that we did was that we made a t-shirt. So we made a t-shirt. It's actually a design that we'd already had out, because you know, we're called Hospital, and at a time like this, you know, like, I mean, the prefix of our records is NHS, so we're all about the NHS. I've got, you know, we've done merchandise for years that just says NHS because it's kind of part of our DNA. We had this t-shirt design that just said NHS with the H as an H in a circle, and you know, one of the guys in the merch department was like, look, let's just you know, reprint that. We put a couple of the sort of stay-at-home logos on the back of the neck. We got in touch with our, you know, one thing that I wanted to do is, like, sometimes when you're donating money to charities, I feel like there's a danger that, you know, money can go to a centralized trust, and whether the money literally gets to the people you want it to go to, I think, is another complicated matter. So we got in touch with our local hospital in Herne Hill, which is a massive hospital called King's. And we'd already seen a campaign they were running called just to buy a coffee for the hospital workers. We got in touch with the nurses that were running that, and we said, look, we're going to do a t-shirt. We want to give all the money to your buy a key worker a drink campaign, you know. And so we started selling this t-shirt, and we managed to raise a load of money just through selling the t-shirt. So when we did the stream, every hour we were just like advertising this t-shirt, and we just sold loads and loads of t-shirts through that, and we were able to channel all that money to the nurses' GoFundMe page, to, you know, just to get them, you know, food and drink, which was cool. But that was back in Easter, so that's like over a month ago. And personally, I was just sort of finding early on, all the streams that I was seeing in the UK, probably understandably, were all fundraising for the NHS. So in that climate, who feels comfortable saying, like, let's have some money for the DJs? Mm-hmm. Now that we're 2 months in, I think that most of us are recognizing that, you know what, actually some money for the DJs, some money for the artists is the next logical step. Our feeling is that, you know, I mean, Patrick sounds like you're way ahead of us, but, like, you know, we're already saying, okay, the first way to do that, I think, is to present a substantial stream and invite people to donate, make sure the messaging is clear, make sure that we're clear about how that money will get paid through to artists, that we're explicit about that. But it's not obligational. It's just like, look, you can donate if you want to donate. Because, if we're going to be doing 6 to 12 months worth of, events online, as I've said earlier, we want to find ways of artists being able to get paid.
Right. Well, I can't believe it, but we've already almost been talking an hour. So we only have about 10 minutes left, and I want to just shift the conversation a little bit to the idea that, as we know, everyone's at home making music right now. At least a lot of people are. So in theory, there's going to be an influx of new tunes coming. So I'm wondering if you guys have already started to see that influx in your inboxes, number one. And number two, are underground labels going to be in a place to sign these tunes and put them out? Chris, I'm going to start.
I certainly hope so. I mean, obviously I'm all about the labels. I'm all about independent labels. Maybe this is a time for independent labels to really come through and stick it to the majors. I've found across the artist roster, I've found some artists who've responded, in a kind of inspired way. I think, we all know these circumstances have been highly unsettling for all of us in so many ways. But I've had some artists who've just suddenly just become prolific, other artists who've needed a bit more time to sort of just, find their feet and readjust. Xander was saying, let's be honest, this is a tough time to release music, but we've just stuck to our schedule. And the first thing we did was reach out to all the artists and say, look, we have a release a week. We have an album a month. We have a release or an EP every week, sometimes two, So I just made a point of reaching out to the artists and saying, I know this is hard, but I genuinely believe we stick to our guns and we keep releasing music because there are people at home who need us more than ever. I'm absolutely convinced of it. That's not an ego thing. It's like, I need music right now more than ever. The one thing I go on Facebook for, I do not go on there for news. I go on there for old men like me that share Northern Soul records and reggae records, because I need that music in my life. And I'm convinced that the people that we all work with and that follow us need our music. So we've stuck to our schedules and we've kept releasing records and CDs and digital music. And yes, in response to what you said, we are probably getting more music sent to us than ever. I'm finding that I think that artists are being more inventive and they're being more collaborative and they're being more open because now is a time. So I'd like to say, because it's important to be positive, I think there are some really good things to pull out of this. It is not easy, but I think all of us are creative people. And if we dig deep and we look around us, the people that we work with, there's some amazing goodness to pull out of this.
Right. Xander, do you have more coming in?
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying to stick to our schedule as well. We release an album a month. We put up an official music video, at least one a week, with a single and stuff. So yeah, we're on a relatively similar sort of schedule to Hospital, and have been sticking to that. And again, that is because I genuinely feel like the fans need it. With my group, the 4 Hours as well, we put out our previous album in 2015. And so it was, the fans were waiting for 5 years for it. So we debated, should we push it back? And we're like, no, this is important to them. They really need it. The music, it's got a lot of kind of, conscious lyricism and stuff, which a lot of people relate to and really benefit from. A lot of our music is quite positive, and it's really definitely helped people get through it. So yeah, we've been doing that a lot. It's quite funny as well, the producer of that album, whose name's Leaf Dog, it took us 5 years to make our last album, and when we put out this one, he got so excited. Within like 5 days, I had like 14 vocal tracks from him and like 26 beats, and he's like, let's make the new one now, we've got to make the new one now. And it took us 5 years before. So yeah, man, that's cool. Yeah, I'm just really determined and focused to get through it. I think, music is so powerful and fans get so much from it, and we need people out there that's going to spread these positive vibrations and help everyone get through it,
Yeah. Craig, what do you think about this?
Well, I definitely believe that good music comes from hard times. I think that's something that's been through all throughout history. And yeah, I think like for us, we were like jumping about with our schedule. We put some things off that have been put off for ages. Release coming in that was supposed to come out in autumn, and we're actually going to pull that forward now because speaking to like pluggers and digital like label managers, there seems to be quite a position now for a lot of the majors have pulled out their releases and pushed them all back. And there's a small gap there just now, I think, as well for like radio and Spotify playlists. So we're going to try and kind of push some stuff through to try and kind of make the most out of that. And then ourselves, like, yeah, I've been finding it really creative. I think in that sometimes when you kind of go away on tour and you kind of switch off from your daily life, it's easy to be creative. And I kind of feel like similar just now. I'm not going into the studio itself every day. Can just sit and sketch on laptops with things to take into finish off properly. And yeah, we've been like voicing people, artists in Jamaica and UK remotely the whole way through this as well. So see what kind of comes.
Really, I think that's a really important thing that Craig just mentioned. You know, like the fact is that like very quickly a lot of the majors started panicking. They pushed all their releases back. And like those of us as independents were just like, nice.
Yeah.
All those campaigns and all those managers and all those entourages that are just like no.
Yep.
And they're going to have all these bottlenecks of all of their Billboard campaign albums. This is, in a way, this is a perfect opportunity for brilliant independent labels to just take a moment and go, yeah, we're just cracking on. You know,
definitely.
There's been some mental sort of. There's usually a massive bottleneck in September anyway, but it's going to be intense.
Yeah.
This, like, I feel like the independents should, like, you know, really enjoy the summer and get as much stuff out there as possible.
Definitely.
So Sev, Patrick, do you guys have anything coming out on Aufect?
Sorry, we have our next final release coming out. Well, it's supposed to be next month. We've discussed probably pushing that back at least a month. At first, I was thinking maybe even September, but after this conversation now, I'm inclined to think a little bit differently. Maybe July is a good month to do it then.
Yeah, I can talk a bit about that too. We have a small handful of artists that have really flourished during this time. Patrick actually works really closely with a vocalist that we've been developing, Sammy Rich, and he has just turned Super Saiyan when it comes to his creative output. He's learned to play instruments, and yeah, he's just really exploring his creative potential right now. And another artist that we work with, Abstract Sonnets, he's just same thing. He's gone Super Saiyan. He's working with so many incredible lyricists and just doing his own thing, forging his own path. So you can see both sides of it. Some artists, and myself personally, I've been too busy with my my standard career to actually be able to sit down and focus on music. So it's a bit bittersweet for me. But seeing our friends flourish during this time is really rewarding as well. And just, yeah, it makes me excited for what we're going to be able to do in the future, and just giving these people new skills and, you know, a new direction that they may not have had otherwise.
Right. Well, guys, we're pretty much at the end of our time here. And before we sign off, I wanted to ask all of you what we can do to support you guys. Are any of you participating in any of those commission-free band camps or anything like that?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the whole Bandcamp initiative is fantastic. You know, it's I guess maybe for a label like us, you know, we channel so much through our own web shop. You know, like Bandcamp sales aren't huge for us, but I think it's fantastic for artists. You know, I know so many people. I mean, I know Ali. You know, he's the UK rep at Bandcamp. They're doing great things there. The thing, I mean, honestly, in answer to this question, the things that you can do is to simply support independent music on any level. You know, I think, I mean, of course, that's always been the case because I'm selfish about it. But I think at a time like this, to be able to, you know, let's be honest, you know, buy a T-shirt, buy a record, you know, follow an artist, share a stream. There's lots that we can all do, you know, to support each other. That's always been the case. I think it's more important now than it's ever been.
Right. So Xander, other than picking up the new 4 Owls album, how can we support you and High Focus right now?
yeah, I guess, you know, like Chris says, just buying records and merchandise from the website. But one thing as well, I guess if you have a friend who's not familiar, who you think might like the music, share it with them, you know, spread the word of the independent artists that you're fans of. And, you know, let's try help build the, you know, the fan bases of these independent artists, and in time help build their revenue.
Right. Craig, you're doing the Bandcamp thing?
Yeah, we're doing the Bandcamp thing as well. I can't really add much to what's already been said there, other than, yeah, if you can buy as directly as possible, that's definitely the best way. And as it be a t-shirt, a vinyl, a digital download, if you can't do that, just stream the music and shoot it with your pals and enjoy it. And then when the time comes, come out to the gigs. That's
Sev, are you guys putting anything out on the Bandcamp days?
Yeah.
We're doing something for our agency actually to help the artists kind of offset a lot of the losses. Yeah, basically, like I'd say the best thing you can do is just do the cliche things, you know, like and share, and you know, stream as much as you can, and it's the little things will all add up.
Right.
Spread the word.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, do any of you have any final thoughts today?
I think the final thought is like this stuff is changing, like all.
cliffhanger.
That's a good final thought.
He recovers.
Oh, there, yeah.
It's that special.
Okay, well, you guys, thank you so much for being here today. This was a great discussion, and I'm really honored that all of you took part, because like I said before, all of you put out some of my most favorite music. So I'm really honored today to share this discussion with you. So thank you everyone to tuning in to this panel. And yeah, I guess without further ado, we'll just wrap this up and say goodbye.
That's
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good chatting, guys.
Thank you. Cheers.